Next on Life Focus.
The other two stood guard and watched and made sure I couldn't leave.
An epidemic of rape on college campuses.
Now 1 in 5 young women will have this experience.
A trauma that most women simply cannot share.
I felt like I lost the person who I was.
And questions of who's to blame.
Young women put themselves in more vulnerable situations.
I should have a right to drink and not be assaulted.
Next on Life Focus.
Life Focus is sponsored in part by the Cassid Foundation in memory of Elizabeth, Peter, Hank, Sam, Joe, and Ben Willis. CADCOR, connecting communities to reduce substance abuse and violent crime. And the Edgar and Elsa Prince Foundation, a civic-minded organization supporting the community through faith.
Hello, I'm Dan Meyer, and welcome to Life Focus. Today we discuss an epidemic on college campuses. 1 in 5 women and 1 in 6 men will experience a sexual assault during their college career. Hardly anyone reports the attacks, leaving victims traumatized and confused. You'll discover in this program how our cultural attitudes allow these crimes to go almost unnoticed. Today you'll meet 3 brave women who speak out not only to help other survivors, but also to ask you, our viewers, to watch, listen, and believe them.
I realized that I really needed some help and that I hadn't really had any help yet. So, what was I supposed to do? Just keep living with it my whole life?
6 years after she was sexually assaulted in college, Amy Van Basler dances.
I realized that I had acted out what I remember of the rape scene. I was moving like I was trying to get away. I didn't know that it had still been with me and still been in my body.
A third-year psychology and women's studies major from a small college in Michigan, Amy seemed like an unlikely target for sexual assault.
I just never thought that something like this would happen to me because I knew so much. I would tell other people about what I knew, how to avoid it, what to do, and somehow I still ended up in the same situation as many other women.
Victim stories often begin in similar ways.
I was drinking, so I don't know if I drank too much.
As soon as I drank the White Russian, I started feeling just really out of it.
I think he probably drugged me.
She's in some kind of a state where she is altered, her judgment is altered.
It's kind of like blacking out.
I fell asleep. I remember him still trying to kiss me as I was falling asleep. And when I woke up, he was having sex with me.
And if she says no, it's not listened to. If she says unlock the door, it's not listened to. It's a very scary, frightening thing.
I remember flipping on my stomach and trying to get away, and then it didn't. He just took me that way too. And then I don't remember anything after that.
The first day of school, colleges and universities welcoming their freshmen. Administrators expect freshmen to make adult decisions, perhaps for the first time.
For some kids, that's, let's figure out how much I can drink, how often I can drink, or what other substances I can use so that I can really start to have some fun now.
And when it's time to have fun, friends blur the lines of acceptable social behavior.
The guy who assaulted me was my friend. We hung out on the weekends all the time. We were friends. The first question was always, okay, well, were you drinking?
And the first thing they'll do is question themselves, what did I do?
It must have been something that I did, some signal that I sent out that created that scenario. What else could I have done? Could I have fought him? Could I have screamed? Could I have kicked? What if I didn't even go to his room? What if I didn't listen to people? What if?
According to the Department of Justice, 1 in 5 college women experience sexual assault. The majority of victims never reports the crime or receives treatment. And most perpetrators do not face the consequences for their crimes.
I think if everyone understood that, people would rise up and say, we can't have this.
Porchlight founder Ann Bent says we can't have society ignore the more than 70,000 sexual assaults that occur on campuses each year.
How do we as a culture, how do we as a society, how do we in our institutions change our understanding and awareness to protect our young people? If a culture can't educate and protect its young people, it's lost.
With 4 generations of Kathy Redmond's family attending the University of Nebraska, her first day of school felt like coming home.
My uncle wrote the school fight song. My grandmother's sandwiches are sold in the stadium and all over Nebraska. So I really didn't hesitate about where I wanted to go.
One of Nebraska's star football players invited her to his dorm room.
It was an all-boys dorm, and so I was raped there. And then I remember very well slinking out, you know, very embarrassed and humiliated, thinking that I had done something terribly wrong.
The next night, she awoke to a knock on her dorm room door.
And it was him and 2 other guys. And then we had a power outage at the same time. And then I was raped there as well, while the other 2 stood guard and watched and made sure I couldn't leave. And then they were done and left, and at that point, I remember thinking to myself, I'm a statistic.
Overcome with shame and guilt, many rape survivors minimize their experience, hoping to recover on their own. Megan, Amy, and Kathy told a few friends, but no college student could fathom the depth of their suffering or understand where to find help. As a result, all 3 distanced themselves from friends and family. What should have been an exciting 4 years participating in school activities turned into a lonely and confusing journey. Our 3 campus rape survivors came from different backgrounds, but the trauma they experienced sounds eerily very similar.
I lost friends because some of my friends didn't know how to deal with what was happening. They didn't know how to deal with the pain I was going through. I don't think I knew how to deal with the pain I was going through, but I think a lot of my friends wanted to continue having fun and go to parties. And I also lost friends who were friends with him.
Friends and even family members often don't know how to respond.
And it was really hurtful. I felt like you didn't really support me. You felt like it was just something I should get over. Or some friends, other really close friends, didn't know that they should believe me.
Some women have immediate effects of post-traumatic stress disorder. They get into bed, they curl up in a ball. They cannot leave their room. They cannot tell their roommate, they cannot tell their closest friend, and they certainly cannot tell their families.
Those thoughts and those flashbacks, it still is something that will live with you forever. It's not something that you can just let go.
Women also suffer from emotional numbness, feel disconnected from life, have difficulty sleeping, and battle anger and fear.
I should have not been drinking there. I should have went home when I felt like I was, feeling really drunk. I should have called a friend. I should have done anything except for what I did.
I was terrified. I had friends walk me around campus. I was afraid to leave my dorm. I was scared all the time. I couldn't
stop crying. I couldn't think straight.
At first, Kathy Redmond blamed herself that a star football player raped her at the University of Nebraska.
The degradation is more about really feeling like a piece of trash. I was viewed as an object. And then the comments after that, and what I would hear people talking about coming out of the locker room. When something is said enough about you, when you hear enough negative things about you, you begin to absorb that and you begin to label yourself in that way. It was a cycle that just kept going.
Kathy Redmond's family took 2 years to realize something was wrong.
I wasn't cheerful anymore. I had lost, I just lost myself.
Kathy's rape hit the family hard. They wanted to take legal action against the university.
It's certainly a very serious matter.
Coach Tom Osborne ran the University of Nebraska's football program when his player sexually assaulted freshman Kathy Redmond.
Sometimes a young man will assume that there is a promiscuous relationship offer, and that may not be there. And as a result, there's not always proper communication. And so we try to make sure that people know that no means no.
But this coach also puts much of the blame right back on the woman.
One thing that concerns me is that sometimes young women put themselves in more vulnerable situations, maybe than once occurred. There were certain social mores that didn't allow maybe co-ed dorms, maybe situations in bars and places that young women normally probably would not have been.
But Megan Shuren says statements like this send the wrong message to men and to society.
I feel like I should have a right to drink and not be assaulted.
What it can be traced to is it's not really about the testosterone. It's not really about the nature of the game being a violent game. It's about the status involved, the entitlement involved, the money involved. When players know that they can do something and get away with it, then they're going to do it.
According to Ann Bent, our culture's not quite let go of the boys will be boys attitude.
College sexual assault is not about sex. It's not about intimacy. It's not about getting to know someone or even an exchange of a physical nature that's on an equal playing field.
Bent says that whether on campus or in the general population, men rape out of deep selfishness and need for power.
It's about one person who's determined to get their will at all costs. And that's not sex, that's not intimacy. That's nothing to do with anything we would call love or human nature. There's a lot of education that needs to be done around this topic.
When Kathy came forth with her story, university officials, fans, and friends turned against her.
To have that happen and then to feel like you were the villain at your own school, at your own home, that was probably worse than the incidents put together.
The family understood the risk to challenge this powerful coach and its heroic football star. Even the media backed away from the story.
If coach says, if you run this story, you don't have access to me anymore, the newspaper, whatever, suffers. So they learn not to run anything that looks bad on the team. And then the DA decides to prosecute. Who's your jury? Your jury are the fans that are in that college town.
Another storybook season seemed to be evolving for Tom Osborne and the #1 Huskers.
A college town that watched its football team win the national championship 2 years in a row.
It was difficult because as a football fan myself, I had waited, what was my lifetime for something like that to happen. And here it's happening and I'm hating it. I'm just hating it.
Kathy decided to tackle the issue, not only to find peace of mind, but more importantly, to prevent others from becoming victims like herself.
In my mind, I could hear the screams and the cries of other people that had gone through this. It wasn't about me anymore. There was a much bigger purpose ahead.
But no Lincoln lawyer would take on the case. She had to hire legal help from another state. The university agreed to an undisclosed financial settlement out of court without admitting wrongdoing.
I remember after my case was done, I remember thinking, but I'm not done fighting. I know too much. I can't just drop this and say, okay, well, it's over, move on.
It goes so fast. You don't know what's going to happen. So while you're here, enjoy it.
Coach Osborne now educates his players about their responsibilities towards young women.
Unfortunately, sometimes people see it as a game. They don't understand how serious it is. And we try to make sure that they're aware of the consequences.
A lot of you never have another chance to go for a national championship.
The responsibility still remains with a young man to always treat a young woman respectfully and to honor her wishes when she says no.
I'm now friends with Tom Osborne, and he had me come out and speak to the Nebraska football team about what it was like to be raped by one of their players. And that's what he invited me to do. And in doing that, there was so much healing in that, because I had the players coming up to me afterwards saying, this was the best thing that I've ever heard.
Coach Osborne, once Kathy's legal opponent, became one of her most ardent and vocal supporters in the fight against sexual assault on campus.
I believe Kathy has tried to do that and call awareness to the problems with sexual assault, sexual abuse.
It's kind of cool to see them view me differently than how I was viewed a long time ago. And it really makes me feel like for a little bit of time, that I have my state back or my home back.
Kathy Redmond's out-of-court settlement against the University of Nebraska felt like an empty win. She did gain national recognition as the first woman ever to pursue a university athletic team for its role in sexual assault. However, the star football player and his two friends never faced charges and even went on to play professional football. Kathy wanted to keep tackling the issue and to help other survivors like herself.
It went from being about me to being on a mission and being about something much bigger. And if anybody knows me, I'm always looking for that. I don't think I ever thought of the history. I don't think I ever thought of anything like that. But I remember hearing from so many women that were so scared. And I kind of felt like I was bearing their burden, like they were on my back.
Once a victim, Kathy Redmond now fights back with her own secret weapon, a journalism degree from the university that once turned its back on her.
I feel like I have the playbook now that college sports uses, because I learned from the best. So I have that playbook now, and so I'm going to turn it around on them.
To help her in the fight, Kathy started the National Coalition Against Violent Athletes.
I was very upset with the NCAA for not doing anything about this issue. It's still something that bugs me, to say the least. I think that what's seriously lacking in journalism right now is the investigative piece.
Recently, she participated in a symposium called When Games Turn Grim. The topic, sports and scandal.
To use the term engaged in, that makes it seem like it's mutual. I do believe that there's a lot more that a governing body can do about the criminal element in athletics.
Today, colleges are growing more aware of sexual assaults on their campuses. But can they do more to protect students against rape, to make it easier for victims to report crimes? To help victims of sex crimes receive the help they need? The answer is yes.
There's no standardized program across this country for how to teach prevention. There's no standardized procedure about reporting. Every college and university has their own system of what happens when someone reports.
Pretty soon after I was assaulted, I went to the counselor at our school. I still had bruises, I still had marks, cuts.
Amy Van Basler knows only too well how hard it was to find help and support after a student raped her on campus. A counselor gave her this advice.
She didn't push me at all to do anything, to go to the school, to report the rape. She just basically said to get over it. So I did try to get over it for the rest of college.
Megan remembers the runaround she faced after her rape.
I had to file a report with a counseling center, and then I had to talk to the dean of students, and then I had to talk to campus security, and then campus security talked to him, and then they talked to all my friends. I had to report everyone I remembered who was at the party, so most of us were underage. You're not supposed to be drinking anyway, so a lot of them didn't want to, go talk to the police.
In the midst of her trauma, Megan not only struggled to find help on campus, she also prepared what was, in effect, her case that eventually went to trial.
None of it felt fair. It felt like, how am I supposed to be handling this emotionally and working through being a survivor of a sexual assault while also mounting and preparing a defense and a prosecution?
At a judicial process, Megan eventually faced her attacker in court and won.
And I was 19 years old. What 19-year-old knows how to do that? I was an English major. I wasn't a lawyer. I wasn't studying law.
The university expelled the student who raped her. Megan went on to graduate. Even though cases close, the emotional wounds remain open for years to come.
A lot of people who experience trauma, especially college students who experience sexual assault, start drinking or using drugs, and they avoid and numb the pain.
Many female survivors will drop out, will go home. Most of the time they don't go back.
I never thought of transferring schools because I really felt like I did not do anything wrong here. He should leave.
Both Megan and Amy also received free help through Porchlight Counseling Services, one of the few agencies that provides free support to university students.
What I found the most helpful about counseling was that for the first time I had somebody who I wasn't worried was judging me for what had happened, and I wasn't worried about how they were gonna feel or if they were gonna be okay with what I told. I knew that I wasn't the first person who had come to them for something like this, and so I didn't have to worry about them or their emotional capacity.
I found out about Porchlight actually through a counselor that I saw here at Columbia, and she said, you know what, we can't really deal with this issue right now, but I do know someone who can help you.
I wonder how that's going for you.
It's going good.
Porchlight gives them a good, long 25 sessions with no cost to them whatsoever.
I really needed some help, and that I hadn't really had any help yet. So, what was I supposed to do? Just keep living with it my whole life?
Victims need to feel safe with their story without feeling condemned.
Porchlight really helped me think about the fact that it wasn't my fault, that there's nothing that I could have done that night because someone took advantage of me when I was in a state of unconsciousness, basically. I've realized that it makes me feel a lot more comfortable and happy when I can.
Nice work.
I really try to help people weave that experience back into their life. So it's not this event that controls the way that they respond to life, but it's something that happened to them.
And Amy's life is turning around too. Today, she's completed a master's degree in dance therapy, which she hopes to use to help other women face trauma in their lives.
For those women who have survived college sexual assault, I hope that they know that it's not their fault. And I want to say that I believe them.
We can participate in helping survivors of sexual assault. First, whether you're a parent, family member, or friend, you can educate young adults before sending them off to independent living on or off campus. Secondly, watch for changes in personality or for emotional withdrawal, and don't be afraid to ask probing questions. Thirdly, find immediate support and counseling for survivors. More information about this topic and resources to help yourself or someone you know can be found on our website. For now, I'm Dan Meyer. Thank you for joining us. I'll see you again next time.
More information on this program or how to order this and other episodes can be found online at www.lifefocus.tv. Please refer to the name of the program on the screen.
And I want to say that healing is possible, that life is possible again, and to not lose hope over just what's happening, that you'll get through it, because it's something very difficult to get through, but you can make it, and it's not the end. It feels like it's something that, you know, is going to weigh you down forever, but it gets better.
Life Focus is sponsored in part by the Cassid Foundation in memory of Elizabeth, Peter, Hank, Sam, Joe, and Ben Willis. CADCOR, connecting communities to reduce substance abuse and violent crime. And the Edgar and Elsa Prince Foundation, a civic-minded organization supporting the community through faith. Pricing and ordering information for a DVD copy of this program are available on our website or by phone at 877-908-5433. The title of today's program is on the screen.